Do you seem to go on a lot of first dates lately, but not a lot of second dates? In this video, I'm going to show you how to get to the second date. This video is going to take the guesswork out of dating and give you some concrete strategies you need to have as many dates as you want with the person you want. For over 12 years, I've been a licensed professional counselor and relationship expert in Boulder, Colorado, and my practice is grounded in the science of what makes relationships work. I'm going to share some amazing insights with you that get to the root cause of why you only seem to be able to date a potential partner one time before they ghost you. When you get some insight about why you can't seem to get to the second date, it's going to save you loads of time and misery. Now, if you like the relationship advice and dating tips that you're learning here, make sure to subscribe to my YouTube channel right now. Just click on the subscribe button right here. If you're enjoying this video, please give it a like and share it. And please go to thepowercoupleformula.com and powercoupleseducation.com to stay connected. Let's dive in. Okay, so you're out there dating and you realize that you have a problem. You just can't seem to get to the second date. Now, I'm not talking about the dates where you really couldn't stand the person and just couldn't wait to get out of there. I'm talking about the ones where you really had some chemistry going and you really did want to see them again. You've tried everything. You've asked your friends what it is about you, you've researched the problem online, you've even implemented some of the tips and tricks you've learned, but nothing seems to help you get to that second date. Well, let's face it, a lot of the suggestions of how to overcome this problem aren't that helpful. For instance, a lot of dating advice says that as long as you just don't drink too much, don't talk about your past relationships, aren't rude, don't cyberstalk your date, and don't make sexual innuendos, you should be able to get to the second date. But quite frankly, that's a pretty low bar for a second date, don't you think? Your dating partner needs to see a lot more from you than just not getting drunk, not making a pass at them, not bemoaning your horrible past relationships, and not monitoring their social media accounts. The fact of the matter is that the real reason you can't get to the second date is much deeper than those surface factors, and the real reason may surprise you. So don't get all in your head and think to yourself, if I had only worn more lipstick or driven a fancier car, then I could have gotten to the second date, because it's actually something that you've probably never even considered. And it applies to both men and women getting to the second date. So here's the secret. The real reason you can't get a second date is that you don't know how you come across to other people. Many people are not aware at all of how they come across. The question is, how truthful and how self-aware are you about what you have to offer a potential partner? Many people don't realize that they come across a certain way, but if they could just watch themselves on video, they might think to themselves, wow, I had no idea I seem like that. So you come across a particular way that you're not aware of, but you may describe yourself or think of yourself or talk about yourself in a completely different way. And your date is bound to pick up on the difference between who you say you are and how you actually behave. So again, this doesn't have anything to do with your hairstyle or what kind of movies you're into. It's really about a whole different level of understanding about how you come across. Now let me share with you an amazing case study that illustrates this point. Maddie and Jack are out on their first date, and they're both super excited to meet each other. Jack decides to take Maddie out to dinner at a new restaurant that he's heard is really great. Jack is in HR, and Maddie does computer software design for a startup company. On the way to the restaurant, the conversation turns to Jack's work. It must be super hard dealing with all those people all day, coming to complain in your office, ventures Maddie. Jack laughs. Not really. I'm quite an accepting, compassionate person, he replies. That sounds good, thinks Maddie. Nice dress, by the way, Jack says, giving Maddie a side glance as he steers into the parking lot of the restaurant. Yellow seems to be a super popular color right now, he says. Thank you, says Maddie, but I don't really think too much about what other people are wearing or what they think about the way I look. I just dress for myself. That sounds good, thinks Jack. I like a woman who knows who she is. Fast forward, and now we're 30 minutes into dinner. That's when the problems really start. Both Maddie and Jack behave very differently than how they describe themselves to each other in the car. Maddie notices that Jack spends most of the evening making fun of people at the restaurant. He says, "You see that waiter? He's so fat. I bet the reason our food is taking so long is because he's eating it back there." For someone who claims to be such an accepting and compassionate person, thinks Maddie, he sure is judgmental. But Jack's experience of Maddie is nothing like she described herself earlier either. Maddie spends most of the night focusing on what other people are eating, wearing, and talking about at the restaurant. "Ooh, look at her," Maddie says. "I wonder where she got that handbag." Or, "That woman over there is being so rude to her husband. He should leave her." Jack starts to think to himself, for a girl who claims to be so unfazed by the latest trends, she sure does spend a lot of time noticing what other people are wearing. So both Maddie and Jack are starting to notice this real discrepancy between how the other person talks about themselves and how they really are in real life. That starts to make them wonder what other things are going on that they don't understand about themselves, that they might be completely unaware of. Each of them see things in the other person that they find alarming and a sign that they might not want to take their relationship any further. Jack comes across as judgmental and Maddie comes across as overly concerned with other people's appearance. But those actually aren't the real problems. The real problems are that neither of them display any self-awareness about these behaviors. In fact, they both think of themselves as exactly the opposite of how they actually are. It's their lack of self-awareness that's the real problem and not the behavior itself. I mean, if Maddie had just said to Jack, "I'm really into fashion these days, I'm just kind of curious about what other people are wearing." Or if Jack had said to Maddie, "Being in HR, people just get on my nerves sometimes and I don't want to deal with them." Then at least that would have been more consistent with how they act. When your date notices a consistency between who you say you are and how you come across, that builds their trust in you because you clearly are somebody who understands who they are. It's just part of human nature to relax around somebody who is just really open and upfront about who they are. Now, obviously, if you have certain faults and you kind of know that you tend to be judgmental or overly concerned with what other people are wearing, maybe you're afraid to talk about that, especially on a first date, because you want them to like you. But much better to be yourself, self-accepting, and just good-natured about it than to try to be something that you're not just to get someone to date you. The truth is that we all have parts of us that can be concerning to a potential partner. But when we're unaware of these parts ourselves and we present ourselves as exactly the opposite, that signals danger to a potential mate. One of the most important traits to look out for in a partner is self-awareness. In other words, does this person really know themselves and what they bring to the table, their strengths, their weaknesses, and who they are and what they want? We all have rough edges, ways that we let off steam or distract ourselves, and it's not a big deal. And Maddie can sort of get into a guy who has a bit of a snarky sense of humor. But what's throwing both of them off is that they're both pretending that they're not like that. So it's just about being clear about who you are. That way, you're not making any false claims about yourself to a potential partner. You can go on a date with an open mind and the awareness of what you need to pay attention to in your own behavior so you don't come across as disingenuous. As soon as your date has to second guess what you're saying, you're probably not going to make it to the second date. Many people are focused on what they're looking for in a potential mate, but they forget to think about what they themselves are bringing to the table as a partner. So how self-aware are you? Do you know how you come across to others? Here's a list of questions that you can ask yourself to help yourself get clear about how you come across. Do you think that your friends, family, and previous partners find you to be any of the following things? Controlling, inflexible, aggressive, emotionally distant, needy, overly emotional, conflict avoidant, or judgmental? Now ask yourself, do you agree with that assessment? If you've never gotten the feedback from your friends, family, and former partners that you possess any of these traits and you agree that that's true, you're probably going to have a pretty easy time building relationships with other people. But if you've gotten the feedback that you have some of these traits and you don't agree with it, it may be important to consider the possibility that you're not in touch with how you come across to others. This could very well be contributing to why you're having a hard time getting to the second date. In this case, it's important to try to be open to how other people see you, so you can use this feedback to improve how you come across. Now, this can be threatening or challenging to just ask a friend to give it to you straight, to tell you if you come across in a judgmental or emotionally shut down or overly aggressive way. But hopefully, if they're a real friend, they'll give you the truth in a kind way because they care about you. Now, this isn't about you becoming some kind of perfect angelic being who's just always sweet and wonderful. It's just about owning the good, the bad, and the ugly. We all have it. You might find out a lot about yourself that you didn't know when you start to solicit the feedback from your friends, family, and past partners. Some things might not be that much of a problem, just kind of, an annoying particularity that you have, whereas other things might actually be much more problematic for you in relationships and are really making it difficult for you to build a sustaining relationship. But in terms of what we're talking about in this dating scenario, the question is, where is your story about yourself really not matching up with how you come across? Becoming more self-aware isn't just about acknowledging all of the things about you that are off-putting. You might also be missing a lot of the good qualities that you have, things that you haven't even realized about yourself that other people see, that are real assets. You might discover from talking to people that they find you caring, loyal, affectionate, and fair. And those are good things that you want to include in your overall self-awareness of who you are. The truth is that people who know themselves are innately attractive to other human beings. So self-awareness is your friend. It'll help you get to the second date. All right, now let's hear from you. Have you been on a date where you were just rolling your eyes because the way the person was coming across was completely different than how they were describing themselves? And what about yourself? Maybe you're starting to think, is my dating rap a little too polished? Let's hear about it, and I'll look forward to reading your comments and seeing you in the next video.